स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So, in this video, we will learn the practical means for intuitive knowledge or jnana. The greatness of Brahma Vidya or Brahma Jnana, that is self-knowledge, has been delineated in the previous chapter. Many people do not know the methods or means for this intuitive knowledge. Some have doubts regarding this fulfillment of this Brahma Vidya, that is Jnana, while others entertain non-belief or even indifference towards it. But there do exist some people who have full unflinching faith in attaining this self-knowledge or Brahmajnana here and now in this very lifespan. We will now deal with the question, what are the spiritual practices or disciplines for this self-knowledge? For the sake of those who wish to know sincerely the essential nature of Brahmajnana, for children, animals, and the common run of people, there is a natural means of cognitive knowledge that may be called Nasargika Pravritti Sadhana, that is instinct. Some of the functions or empirical dealings occur quite naturally. Children having taken their food in a drowsy state and having gone to sleep get up in the morning and ask for food, saying that I did not eat food yesternight. This is a natural instinctive knowledge, just as we know or experience sound, touch, form, taste, and smell through our senses. Animals and other creatures too instinctively know or cognize. This is pratyaksha, that is perceptual knowledge of the form of percept, that is gained through the function of the senses. Although animals and creatures carry on their actions and bodily functions based on likes and dislikes as a result of this perceptual knowledge or sensations, they do not at all use reasoning faculty as man can. If a person who has the habit of giving food or some eatables to a dog puts out merely his empty hand, that dog thinks that that person is going to give it some food or eatable as usual. On the other hand, if that person holds a stick in his hand, it runs away out of fear. Thus, although animals and other creatures too, just like animals being get external knowledge born out of the five senses, which are called sensations, indriya jnana, and the internal feelings called Vedanas, like desire for something and the hatred towards another thing called Kama and Krodha, respectively, hunger, thirst, etc. That is, animals and creatures do not have the power or capacity of thinking by means of the mind in the manner it must be like this, it cannot be like that, nor the power of intellectual conviction and judgment of the type. It is certainly like this and this alone. This fact, this fact the scriptural text indicate after analyzing it in the manner. This is a shloka in Atriya Arnayaka, and the meaning is in trees and plants which possess only internal knowledge. Antar Samajna, that trees and plants which possess only internal knowledge. Atma, that is. The pure consciousness manifests to some extent, but he manifests to a greater extent or a greater degree, measure than in those insentient things, in movable creatures and animals. But in man alone, Atma, that is pure consciousness, is manifest fully and very clearly. In him consciousness or knowledge is manifest quite abundantly, and hence a human being understands or knows and talks, knows and sees, knows what will happen tomorrow, knows about other worlds by means which are empirical and mortal. He aspires to attain immortality, But for the remaining creatures, hunger and thirst and such other instincts and natural bodily functions are knowledges. Thus, in man, the means of knowing instinctively, the knowledge born out of his senses, the faculty of knowing directly through his mind or intellect, and of gaining conceptual experiences like desire, kama, volition or willing, sankalpa, doubting, sansaya, dedication, shraddha, indifference, asardha, moral or craze or resoluteness, dhriti, irresoluteness, adharti, sense of shame, apamana, lajja, knowledge, jnana and fear, bhaya, etc. All these exist. Man specially possesses, in addition to the knowledge born out of the senses and the mind, the power of gathering together all those knowledges, correlate them, reason out, and deduce one particular knowledge from another. This latter kind of deductive, a priori knowledge, is called inferential knowledge or anuman paramjanya jnana, to wit, inferential knowledge born out of the valid means of reasoning and imagination. Man does not attain every kind of knowledge directly through perception via the senses alone. He is amassing the totality of his so-called knowledge by means of reasoning or inferential faculty bestowed upon his intellect buddhi to boot. In addition to this, the knowledge born out of the sentences found in the written text or scriptures or spoken words of his well-wishers, forefathers, etc., called Vakyajana Jnana, too is helpful to him in enriching his knowledge. One who is capable of communicating to us what he has understood or known through a particular kind of valid means and thereby can indicate and communicate that knowledge to us is called an apta, that is trustworthy person, confidente. From his statement too we can know the reality of a thing or phenomenon. For example, by the teaching of those people who have gone abroad and have known the people of a foreign country as well as various things of that country, we too can gain through imperceptibly the knowledge of those people and the things in that country. In turn, we too can communicate in the same manner to others what we have known through their statements. Anyway, it amounts to saying that in this manner, through the doorways of instinctive knowledge, senses, mind, intellect, reasoning, logic, trusted friends or well-wishers, statements, through all such ways we obtain the knowledge of objects or phenomena perceptible in our day-to-day empirical transactions or dealings. But the scriptures, Upanishads, are stating that Brahm Atma Jnana, that is the knowledge of the ultimate reality of Atma or the Self, is not in this sense or aspect any perceptual knowledge of any object or phenomenon of empirical mundane dealings. Taittiriya, this is a slok in Taittiriya, and meaning is the purport of this scriptural statement is that we can form a concept in our mind about an object or phenomenon which is perceptible to our senses. Besides, we can communicate that conceptual knowledge to others too. Therefore, we can assume that thing or phenomenon is objectifiable or communicable by our speech, to wit, it is either perceptible by our senses or it is capable of being conceived by our mind. But the essential nature of bliss of Brahma, that is the ultimate reality, is not objectifiable by speech, which means it is not perceptible to our senses, nor is it conceived by our mind or intellect because it is beyond the ken of mental concepts, and is in truth the very essence of our being consciousness bliss. Thus, the scripture is also stating that one who cognizes that blissful nature or essence of Brahma or Atma does not fear anything whatsoever. Now, how is this possible at all? So, Mundaka Upanishad. This slok is from Mundaka Upanishad, and the meaning is the purport of this Upanishadic statement is in order to know the eternal reality of Brahma, one should reverentially approach to a preceptor who is well versed in the scriptures, as also who is established in the intuitive experience of the ultimate reality of Brahma or Atma, that is his own self as the pure being consciousness bliss. In that manner, if a disciple who has approached a teacher as per the stipulations of the scriptures is having a completely quiescent mind, and if he has successfully controlled his sense organs, then the preceptor should teach such a disciple that conscious principle called Aksara, that is immutable or immortal, also called Brahmavidya, that is knowledge of the ultimate reality, as it really is, since it is stated in this Upanishad that to a qualified or deserving disciple, the knowledgeable and self-realized preceptor should teach Brahmavidya, that is self-knowledge. It amounts to saying that it is possible to teach or communicate this Vidya or knowledge of the ultimate reality by a Sadguru, that is self-realized preceptor. But that ultimate reality which is neither perceptible through the means of speech nor is an object for the mental concept. How at all can that absolute ultimate reality of the self, that is Atma, be taught by the percept even? It is true that by the statement of a trustworthy elderly person or our confidante, we normally obtain the empirical knowledge of a thing or communicate or phenomenon, but even those trustworthy persons who can only teach or communicate to us that thing or phenomenon which is known by him through another valid means, that is pramana, namely apta, vakya or shabda, a true statement or expression of his own pratyaksha anubhava, that is direct and intimate experience. It being so, however much capable this perceptor may be, however much compassionate he may be, how can it be possible at all for even such a perceptor to teach or communicate the intuitive knowledge or experience of that absolute ultimate reality which is itself not graspable or is beyond all comprehension? The scripture itself is further stating that is a shloka in Rig Veda. It means who knows as to how and by whom this creation has been made. Who can at all answer that question? If Brahma is the cause of the world, then how can it be said that Brahma is beyond the ken of sensuous knowledge or percepts? Further, who can ever clearly know or understand as to what kind of a relationship, if at all there is any, exists between that incomprehensible cause of absolute reality of Brahma and its effect of the empirical world? Besides that entity which is not an object for speech at all, whoever can expound or express such a phenomenon? The scripture states the purport of this statement is that reality the eyes cannot contact, the speech cannot indicate, the mind too cannot comprehend. How at all can such a reality be cognized? How can that reality be taught? We do not know, we cannot divine. Thus, the scripture, which stressed over and over again that Brahma cannot be cognized through any valid empirical means of knowledge whatsoever, itself opines that meaning is one who has procured a highly qualified preceptor will cognize that reality. The Smriti Gita also suggests that saluting the preceptor and reverentially questioning him as well as serving him attain that knowledge of the reality of the self. The genuine seeker may get curious know as to how at all can a true percept teach or instruct about this ultimate or absolute reality. Now let us see as to what exactly the scriptures say with regard to the means by which we can cognize this reality of Brahma. This is a shloka in the Kathopanishad. The scriptural statement has been explained clearly by Sri Sankara Bhagavad Pada in his commentary in the manner, meaning before the intuitive knowledge of the type one and one non-dual reality alone really exists is attained, one should learn to cognize this reality by means of a mind that is influenced and enlightened by a perceptor, as also the traditional method of teaching agama alone. In his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, this same teacher has written Gita Bhasha 221. It purports to say that although one cannot by oneself independently know this reality with the help of scriptural instructions as well as the instructions of a worthy preceptor, and by getting his extroverted mind cleansed and enlightened by the spiritual practices or disciplines like Shama, control over the mind, Dhamma, control over the five senses, Uprati, introvertedness, etc. His mind gets qualified to cognize intuit the self, Atma. Idam Brahma Ekaswaram Aptavayam Atamvaya Nena Tat Asti Iti. Meaning, this Brahma, which is indivisible and is of one and the same essence, is of ourself, that is Atma alone. There is nothing other than this reality. In this manner, one should cognize or intuit. Meaning, after one cognizes or intuits this reality of Brahma or Atma Avidya, it is ignorance which misconceives or brings about differences or distinctions gets rooted out, and hence there does not remain even any vestiges of difference in this absolute or ultimate reality whatsoever at all. Another sloka meaning, but one who does not get rid of the cataract vision called avidya, that is ignorance, and thereby is seeing or perceiving as if in this non-dual reality of Brahma there exists difference, he will get death after death. The principal purport of this commentary is, although this ultimate reality of Brahma or Atma is incomprehensible to the unentitled people who are not realized. People, either through speech or mind, they can surely intuitively know it with the help of the statements or spiritual instructions of a well qualified perceptor. In this context, by the word acharya, that is perceptor, it is it is meant a spiritual teacher who knows or has understood the genuine purport of the scriptural text so as to be able to explain them and bring home their real essence to the mind of the uninitiated or an unenlightened common run of people. In fact, these teachers are capable of not only inculcating upon the minds of their disciples the importance and necessity of practicing strict or rigid spiritual disciplines as stipulated in the scriptural text, but also capable of inducing their disciples to practice them and get proficient in them. This capacity in them can be traced to their own intimate and direct experiences and their own proficiency in having achieved the objective and having got over all the various hurdles that are to be encountered on the path by a practitioner of these spiritual disciplines. Thus, it will become evident now that those persons alone who are able to comprehend, understand the real purport and essence of the scriptural statement signifying the ultimate reality of Brahma, and who, as a result of their having established themselves in this intuitive experience of the ultimate reality, are capable of enlightening those disciples who surrender unto them by their soul stirring teachings, are the genuine perceptors, acharyas. It will also become clear now that as a result of comprehending the real purport of the scriptural text with the help of the spiritual instructions of the perceptor, and thereafter by virtue of his practicing the spiritual disciplines like Shama, Dama, Uparti, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samandhana, etc. When all the dross in the mind has been cleansed completely, that very pure mind attains the qualification or capacity to cognize or intuit the ultimate reality of Brahma and get established in it forever. Before one intuits or cognizes this ultimate reality of Brahma, Atma, two kinds of differences or distinctions do exist, and they are one, the triputi of type of cognize, that is Paramatru, the means of cognition, Parmana, and the object of cognition, namely the ultimate reality of Brahma, Parmeya. Second, the world of duality, prapancha, full of various species of jivas or souls, various kinds of insentient object which we all are experiencing as external phenomenon. But when one cognizes or intuitively experiences the indivisible Brahma or Atma, there exists this non-dual unitary entity without any other thing or phenomenon second to it, and thereby it becomes a plenary experience of one and the same essence of pure being, ekatma pratya sama. In that event, not even an iota of difference whatsoever remains, since it is stated in the scriptural text that by merely cognizing Brahma as one's own essence of being, consciousness, beliefs as the self, all the above stated differences get destroyed or rooted out. It becomes self evident and self established that the apparent differences that are being seen now are due to avidya, that is, ignorance, which is nothing but misconception, delusion indeed, just as to a person who has developed cataract in his eyes or moon alone appears as many moons, but even while it is appearing in that manner, in reality, there exists only one moon alone. In the same manner, as a result of this avidya, this world, which is of the form of the triputi of the agents of action, the means of action, the various actions and their end results, fruits of actions, it will invariably appear as long as this avidya of the form of misconception or delusion persist. Only that the belief, or the rather the conviction of the type this is avidya, not the real knowledge, will not be there in us to the animals and creatures, etc. Just like us human beings, the functions of the senses are there, just like us. In them also there will be feelings arising of the type. This thing is beneficial and this is disadvantageous. When they perceive things or objects in front of them, therefore, just like us human beings, they animals and other creatures too, thinking that a particular object is beneficial or helpful, proceed towards that object, and thinking that a particular thing seen by them is disadvantageous or harmful to its interest or very existence, they too recede from that thing. Although in all empirical transactions of this type, this much similarity exists to be common between human beings or on the other hand, and animals and other creatures on the other. Human beings possess, or rather they have been endowed with the extraordinary faculty of reasoning or discrimination and of arriving at a conclusive knowledge based on such reasoning. This excessive and exclusive faculty of self-reflective consciousness in all human beings can be traced to their highly developed intellect. Man possesses thus the power of conceiving with the help of this faculty of reasoning as to what will happen in the future and in accordance with that conjecture and possess the capacity to arrange or adapt this perverti, that is procedural behavior in acquiring that thing, or nivarti, that is his behavior in getting rid of or receding from that thing. But perhaps even the thought that such a discriminative knowledge or faculty exists among human beings cannot or does not arise in animals and creatures, etc. In the same manner, speaking purely from the empirical point of view, we cannot possibly entertain a concept just now in our present uninitiated or unenlightened state of the type. Although there appear to be a similarity between the empirical day-to-day dealings of pravrti and nivarti of the common run of human beings, who are supposed to be discriminative and rational in mundane matters, on the one hand, and the jnanis, that is, the realized souls, on the other. The Gyanis do not envisage any difference whatsoever to exist at all. We keep on asking how can they ever cognize this with this very mind that Brahma, which is the essence of indivisible, immutable non-duality. How can they cognize that Brahma, which is beyond words, perverti and nivarti, as also beyond the reach or ken of the senses? Not only that, we are not even capable of thinking or imagining by our mind that there exists a reality which is beyond the ken of senses. We are getting doubts with regard to this truth. Cognizing that reality, it is possible to experience or enjoy its fruit as taught in the Vedanta philosophical science. In addition, in addition to such a doubt that we do not at all hesitate even to establish or prove conclusively by means of all sorts of logical arguments or dialectical criticism, referring to the many metaphysical contradictions that the Vedanta philosophy seems to abound in, and every try to prove scientifically, pressing into service the manifold physical laws and theories put out by our modern scientists, that there is no possibility whatsoever for man to attain the intuitive knowledge or experience of such a reality beyond the ken of the senses. Further, it is meaningless trash to accept the Vedantic doctrine of that one non-dual reality to exist in everything in this vast universe. But for the sake of those few people who earnestly and dedicatedly believe that there may be still a different, separate, or exclusive doorway of knowledge to intuit or cognize this ultimate reality of the Brahma or Atma, as also believe that there may be a possibility of instructing about such an absolute reality, metaphysical in its very essence or content. Further, who are fully prepared to make concerted efforts to gain the proper qualifications needed to intuitively listen to Sravana, the spiritual teachings of the scriptural text, and the qualified perceptor, so as to be able to intuitively experience and get more and more rooted or established in that non-dual reality of the self. To such a few highly qualified people, especially the philosophical science of Vedanta exist as a beacon light, nay, a veritable divine boon. Herefore, we can delve deep into intuitively deliberate upon its unique methodology. So, here I end this video. Namaste, my dear friends. Please subscribe my channel, like, comment, and share my video. Namaskar, namaskar, namaskar.